coming tonight. And let me say I couldn't be more pleased to join you all as the chairman of the board of the BPC Action, which is the lobby arm of the BPC. If you are unfamiliar with this organization, come see me after, and I've got a few things to sell to you. Thank you very much. I'm especially proud to be a part of this second annual Legislative Action Awards event, where we celebrate those who represent hope for a better, more productive, and more effective future for the United States Congress. The ability of our legislative branch to respond to the needs of Americans, all Americans, will be directly proportional to the willingness of lawmakers to embrace compromise and build consensus. There is simply no other way in a nation and a Congress comprised of such divergent opinions and viewpoints. In that vein, we are fortunate for up-and-coming legislators like those we recognize tonight. And without question, Representative Susan Brooks is exactly what we had in mind when we created the Legislative Action Award. Congresswoman Brooks has a Lugar Center bipartisanship ranking of 24th out of the entire House of Representatives. And in her third term, with far less seniority than many of her colleagues, has a Center for Effective Lawmaking rank of 68 in her party. Representative Brooks leads the bipartisan Congressional Caucus for Women's Issues, along with Democratic co-chair Representative Lois Frankel. For decades, the caucus has been a critical bipartisan forum to discuss major policy issues of the day, with a particular focus on how these issues impact women and families. Congresswoman Brooks introduced bipartisan legislation to dramatically transform and enhance the nation's ability to respond to current and emerging bio-threats. This measure was highlighted by the bipartisan Blue Ribbon Panel study on biodefense as an important step towards shoring up our national security and preparedness for bio-threats. The House of Representatives unanimously passed a bipartisan bill introduced by Brooks and Congressman Joe Kennedy that directs the Secretary of Energy to review and update a federal report on the energy and environmental benefits of the re-refining of used oil. And along with Democrat Ron Kind, she authored bipartisan legislation to provide much-needed relief to certain nonprofits, which now have higher pension funding costs than taxable for-profit companies. The Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America honored Congresswoman Brooks with a Congressional Leadership Award for her work to address the heroin and opioid epidemic. She is also the recipient of the Nancy A. Maloney, Outstanding Public Service Award from Richard G. Lugar Excellence in Public Service Series. And just in conclusion, I was thinking that every speaker had said, thanks for noticing my bipartisan work. As if they don't get thanked enough, they probably get attacked from their base. But there are a lot of people who notice the work that's being done by congressional leaders such as yourself. So thank you very much, and congratulations. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, wait, no glasses, please. That's all right.
Ready, 1, 2, 3. Good, thanks.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kim. Good evening, everyone. And I have to say, sorry, we just finished votes. Glad you only arrived 5 minutes before me, I learned, as we raced to get here. But I was really thrilled to walk up and see so many of you here, and was really also very pleased to hear my good friend and colleague, Raul, who serves with me on the Energy and Commerce Committee. But it's wonderful to be reminded of his background and all of the incredible things that he has accomplished in his life prior to coming to Congress, and really look forward to working with him on energy and commerce, certainly in the spirit that he talked about. And so I just want to echo and congratulate you as well. When I'm home talking to my constituents, and as Kim said, we don't get a lot of thanks always. However, we are often asked, why can't you get anything done there? I don't know if you are, but I certainly, why can't you get anything done? And can't you disagree with your colleagues maybe more respectfully? Not just me, but people don't like the tone and how we are disagreeing with colleagues who have different points of view around the country. I do think that's what my constituents want. I think that is ultimately what most Americans do want. I think they don't appreciate sometimes the difficulty that is in accomplishing that here. They want us to solve the problems, take care of problems for themselves, for their families, for the country. And I have certainly learned, I was not a member of my state legislative body, so this is my first foray into the hard work I have learned of legislating. I had never been a staffer, had not worked on the Hill in any capacity, and it is incredibly hard work. My guess is most of you have worked on the Hill in some capacity, and you do now. But I do think that bipartisanship is the answer. I said that when I first came here. I had been in public service before. I'd been a deputy mayor. And in the mayor's office, you worked with the city council, and you worked to get things done for the citizens that you were all representing and the city that you were leading. But it's not easy, and it doesn't happen by accident, I've certainly learned. It has to be incredibly intentional. And what I've learned is it does take time. It takes patience and a willingness to listen, not just to work across the aisle, and it's kind of fun to tell young people there really is an aisle in the chamber, and you really do have to go across an aisle to visit with your colleagues on the other side. And, you know, I didn't fully appreciate that until I got there, and you have to go over and have those conversations. Same thing in our committee hearings. You know, we sit on opposite sides. Although in Energy and Commerce we're so big, I'm often now sitting not too far from Raul on your side. It's kind of fun. But I'm part of a bipartisan working group that that was started many years ago by now Delaware Governor Carnes, as well as Representative Jim Renacci. And it's a weekly discussion group, and I've learned a lot from that bipartisan working group. I've also learned how hard it is, though, for us to come to agreement on things that might be on the floor that week. But we're also trying to learn to find more ways to support each other. And as you heard from Kim, I'm very proud to be co-chairing the Women's Caucus with Lois Frankel from Florida. And I'm very proud of the work that we just did in the House, but it was also led by Senator Feinstein and Senator Collins in the Senate, and that was the Protecting Young Victims from Sexual Abuse Act and the Safe Sport Act involving the sexual abuse of our Olympic athletes. It was the Indianapolis Star that uncovered the abuse of our Olympic athletes that were gymnasts, but there are many other different Olympic committees that have not reported that sexual abuse or other kinds of abuse in a prompt way. And they've not had the proper policies in place. And so we came together, the Women's Caucus, and got behind that bill, along with many others. And I think we've made a change for athletes and for U.S. Olympic Committee, I think, for generations to come. But it was because of the brave voices of those young women who stepped forward. Make no mistake about it. It was their bravery, but we do come together to support them. And the Women's Caucus has been, we've come together on a number of things. And in fact, on Monday, I believe it's Monday, we are hosting a hearing focusing on sexual harassment in the service sector industry, and to keep the conversation going about what we need to be doing differently on behalf of those who work in restaurants or on our airplanes or in hotels and those who work in the service industry. And so we're going to continue to find those important things to work on together. If you read the headlines, however, and or watch the news, these types of things often don't get much attention. Only the things that anger us and anger people at home is really what drives up ratings and gets attention. But I like to tell people there actually is a lot of work done on both sides of the aisle. One piece of legislation that you also mentioned, Kim, that I'm working on with my good friend Anna Eshoo is that pandemic all-hazard PAPA bill reauthorization that will be considered later this year, we hope. It's to strengthen our readiness for biological and chemical threats. And national biodefense is something we all, quite frankly, take for granted for the most part. It's something that we all assume these stockpiles of vaccines are there if something like Ebola, Zika, or for right now the horrible effects of the flu that many people, and is actually become an epidemic in the country as well. We've had 244 lives in Indiana that have been lost to this year's flu. And so these are things that we come together on. And because of Anna's leadership in the past on this, Mike Rogers, when he left Congress, asked me to pick up this baton because there weren't many people focused on this in the House. Tom Cole has always been focused on it as appropriator. But these are things that we know we can come together to protect our citizens. Like Raul was saying, it is about the safety and security of our citizens. So I couldn't ask for a better partner. We've just started the Congressional Biodefense Caucus, and we're going to be educating our members and continuing that work. I'm going to close because today is a really terrific day. Congressman Andre Carson, who also represents Indianapolis, he has the southern two-thirds of the city. I have the northern third of the city. We just got a bill through Natural Resources today that I'm hoping gets to the floor very, very soon. And it is, I think, emblematic of what this organization would support. On the day that Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated, Senator Bobby Kennedy was in Indianapolis. And he gave that what I think is a historic speech now, bringing calm and talking about peace, talking about unity, talking about working together. And today, Andre and I were able to get through Natural Resources Committee. We're moving it hopefully to the floor and over to the Senate. That Kennedy King Park, which was created in Indianapolis about 15, 20 years ago, is hopefully going to have national commemorative site status and part of the new African American Civil Rights Network that is now in the country, a new network to shine the light on places that were so critical in the civil rights movement. Very proud to have worked with Congressman Carson on that bill, but I think that Senator Kennedy and I think that Dr. King would be very pleased of a group like this that is highlighting the work that we can do to unite members of Congress and to, in fact, be leaders for the country and unite the country. So I just want to thank you for this award. It means a lot to me and to my team. We don't do any of this ourselves. It also takes our staff and those for the most part, a lot of young people that we hire, and to teach them that they really have a legacy to carry on in bipartisanship and in making sure things get done, not just for our constituents back home, but they are leaders for the country as well. So this is for them as well. Thank you so much.